What's up, everyone? We are doing Nightcrawling, our live discussion. So, and here we have Gabby, the Curious Owl. If y'all don't know, she's reading N.K. Jemisin all year, so definitely check it out. Just had our live discussion last night for the Obelisk Gate. So, if y'all haven't done so, go ahead and do it. I'll leave her link and everything with her channel down below in the description. But let's go ahead and get into it. Hey, Bree.
Long time no see.
Right. Long time no see. Oh, man. So, with this particular book, I was emotional. I had to put the book down a couple times.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Oh, man. Hey, Lisies. 5 stars, hands down. For me, I gave it a 4. And I know a lot of people were talking about the ending. Now I understand why people felt the way they felt, because I felt some way too about the ending. Like, it ended abruptly. I'm thinking something was going to happen to her after she like testified and all this other stuff, you know? Like, I thought they were just going to come for her and she going to end up missing. But I don't know.
Well, the way I thought about it, and this is just my personal take on it, I thought about it where it's kind of one of those stories where there might not be an end in sight right now. It ends abruptly because it's still something that's going on.
Yeah.
And it loses traction in terms of the story of it, the following of the cases. I mean, how many times have we seen people in these situations where it's like, oh, this person obviously is, a rapist, or is this and that and the other. And after like a few weeks, especially once the trial starts, the news reports go down because nobody's really paying attention to it anymore, but the trial's still going.
Yeah.
And from what I saw in the author's note, Layla based a lot of this on an actual investigation that happened. Who's to say that's still not going on, nearly 10 years later?
Right. And I didn't even know anything about the investigation.
I didn't either.
That was happening at all.
Yeah.
So it brought it to my attention about it, and it makes me think of the system and how people feel if they wear a badge, or if they have some type of power, they are above the law. And I just felt so bad for her. Like, I was crying for her. But then I was also pissed at her brother too.
Oh.
I was like, bro, you really aren't gonna like help pay for the bills? Like, you want to do music? Like, you can still do music, but just have a job too. And that is actually that's common. A lot of people will be like, no, let me just focus on music, and they expect somebody else to pay the bills. And I'm like, what if music doesn't pay off?
It doesn't always for everybody.
Right.
So you have to have something.
Right. Her brother Marcus is like, she relied on him so much when she was growing up. And the fact that he did that, I just like, whoa, I don't have any respect for you.
Yeah. Even toward the end when he went to jail, I was like, I have no respect for you. You did this to yourself. You could have done things very differently, and you decided to go this way because you wanted to make a name for yourself instead of actually providing for you and your sister.
Right. And you could have you would have been, after you found out what your sister was doing, yes, you didn't like it, but you were like, nah, you're not doing that. I'm going to take care of you. Like, you didn't step up. And instead of stepping up, you just was judging her.
Exactly.
And I just felt so bad for her.
I thought it was interesting though, because I mean, I don't know anything about people that get into like prostitution or anything like that, but I wonder how very different it is, like compared, like a white person going into being a prostitute versus a person of color. How much more difficult is it, or how much more stigmatized is it based on the group that you're from?
Right.
Because if you're a person of color, is there more demonizing of that kind of work?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it kind of more accepted than
Right.
it is for somebody that's white? Like I have no idea. I'd be curious to know if
I,
there's like some kind of community based idea with that.
I don't know. I feel like, well, this was in Oakland,
Yeah.
and that was heavily like a heavily Black community. It still is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and with her surroundings, I mean, you made a great point, but I feel like since it's in Oakland and how it gives us where she is and the timing is, it seems like it's mostly just black people,
Mm-hmm.
Black girls. But I mean, there could be not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But I'm just assuming because it's Oakland and I've been to Oakland and
Yeah.
and it's and like she was trying to get a job, but then it was her age too. But then again, I was like, well, she was 17, about to be 18, right?
Yep.
And I'm thinking, well, technically, like she could have worked at like a retail store or something like that, possibly. I don't know, unless it's different out there, like as far as age requirements to get work. Because I mean, I know here, like you can be 16
Yeah.
and get a job. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think there was something about the fact that she was a high school dropout that like really made it worse for her, because like there were people who, like, I remember there was a scene where she was looking to become a waitress, and they're like, you have no training, you have no experience, we're not going to take the time to actually, you know, train you on this. It's going to take way too much time and money, so no, not happening. And like
Right.
I found that to be really interesting, because I don't know whether there was other things underlying that, if it like there are certain like things about her, like if she was being a high school dropout, if that did affect anything,
It
because she had
probably did.
I mean, she came in with no resume, which, yeah, you come in with no resume and you look young. I'm going to make the assumption that you're like 16, 17 years old. This is your first job.
Yeah.
But why would you turn somebody away like that quickly?
I think also if you're a minor and if you're 16 or whatever and you're still in school, even though she wasn't, they really don't really ask that specific question really per se if you're getting a job.
Yeah.
They usually want type of signage or sign off from a parent, which that was not the case. And it's sad because like again, it's very common for kids to drop out of high school because their parents aren't around or their parents can't pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so their parents try to force their kids to get out of school. And that has happened years, like way back then too,
Mm-hmm.
where they would take their kids out of school and they would help them help them with farm work or whatever
Yep.
that was, or to pay the bills.
Yep.
And it's sad how it's still occurring to this day, especially with Black families.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Was this supposed to be Oakland, California? I could never figure that out. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Oakland, California.
Okay, that's what I had thought. I kept thinking that was the case, but I was like, I think there's at least one other Oakland, like somewhere in the U.S. Because I know that we in Michigan have Oakland University, and I'm like,
yeah, I was in Oakland, yeah, it's in Cali.
Okay.
Yeah, which you also have a lot of crooked cops out in California too.
Yep.
Yeah. So, let's see. Let me get into the comments. Her brother was all for himself, and that he was like his own, right.
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole thing with her dad too. Like when he was in jail, he gets out, and then he has prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm. And then in all of that, what happens with her sister and her mother? That is what I think.
Yeah, I put the book down after that.
Yeah. That really hurt on the inside. Like I had to put it down too. I was like, okay, hold on a minute. I have to step back from this because this is gonna make me full on have a meltdown.
It made me think of like I'm a mother, and I'm like I would never do that. But then again, when her mother felt lost which this is not an excuse for her actions, but she was also going through depression and stuff like that. And when you go through depression, you're not in your right mind.
No, not at all. And think of like how she probably didn't have access to things to help her, which is again another huge thing within Black communities is the stigma with mental health and seeking help like that. Like,
right, that's still a common thing that's happening today.
exactly.
And it's like where our government funds for everything else but that. Like come on, like people can't afford like medical care. I feel like medical care should be a free thing for everybody to get help. And some people have access to get help, but they don't want it because they know the treatment they will receive because they are Black.
Right.
So that's another problem.
The whole system just is so against any person that is not white. And I think this book in multiple ways shows that.
Right. Any other brother would have stopped her. Right. They're not going to let their little sister do that.
Thomas was really trying to get her to stop doing it. Like he was like, we can do something else. Let me help you.
What do I need to do?
Let me take care of you.
Right. And I feel like she was so deep into it, and the money she was getting, I don't know.
I mean, all of that's a slippery slope. Once you start seeing how it can change your life, it's kind of one of those things where, there's a reason why drug addicts are addicts, right? They get the high off of the usage of what they're using, and then it's hard for them to get off of it because it's what gets them through.
Right.
So I find it very interesting how all of that became like a drug to her because it was helping her situation. It maybe was affecting her physically, but not enough to where it was like, I can't keep doing this. Mentally, that was the biggest struggle, I would think. But she could move past that if she thought it was for a greater good, which at that point, I think you need to like take a few steps back. But she was struggling.
And the people she was messing with blackmailing her and all that, it's like she really couldn't leave either.
Yeah, exactly.
So she was trapped. And then her brother didn't make it any easier for her.
Nope.
And then she was trying to take care of him when he was in jail. So she was reaching out to their uncle who didn't want to be found. And I'm thinking to myself, this is your niece and your nephew.
Yeah. Like, I understand you might be mad at their parents or their mother specifically, but don't punish the child for something that they didn't have anything to do with that is the parents' fault.
Right.
The kids had nothing to do with what happened to their sibling. They should not have been punished for what their mom did.
She was like, oh, you have been working since you were 14. And it says you can be 16 legally and have a full-time job.
Yep.
It just made it, for her, it seemed like it was a struggle for her to even get any type of job.
Yeah. There had to have been some other underlying factors that obviously were not clear to her, so therefore were not clear to us, but probably had something to do with why people were not hiring her. Whether because of her race, her age, her lack of education, whatever it could have been. Like, there could have been multiple factors within all of that.
Right. She took on the responsibility of that boy next door. So many maturity. When she was taking care of him, I was like, girl, you're doing you're doing so much for the people that look up to you. And then the people that don't even take care of you, you're still for them. Like, you were still for your brother. I mean, so she had a heart and she had a caring heart, which I love. It's just, I felt like she did not deserve everything that was happening to her. But I'm glad that she stepped up for this little boy. I mean, she didn't have to, and she still did it to make sure he was fed and everything. And the mom, I'm like, geez, you just literally left your son? Oh man. Hey, Adrian.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm checking in from Baltimore.
Oh, look at you. Oh
Yeah.
man.
So I didn't hear some of what you all said. Did you say what you graded it yet?
Yeah. Well, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 just because I didn't like the ending that much, but I still enjoyed the story because this is a story that definitely needed to be told.
I gave it a 5. I loved it. As heartbreaking as it's probably my favorite book so far this month.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So I gave it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out whether or not, and I'm looking at my review, trying to figure out whether or not I was going to give it more than that. But it was so sad. I was like, the book was so sad. And I think I was saying that when we were talking before without trying to, give away. Um, but, you know, the adults failed in this book. And that
Mm-hmm.
really made me sad. And I know that's a reality for some folks, but I was just like,
Right.
I was
Right.
like, come on, get it together. Oh my goodness.
And
Well,
her
I'm glad
mom.
I read it though, because it's been on my
Right.
TBR for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Her mom was a trip to me though too.
Come on.
I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Mm-hmm.
This is like she
Yeah.
can't. Like Kia could not catch a break,
No.
not one. And then even when she went to the court to testify, say her testimony, it still didn't. Nothing happened.
Well, the police was so corrupt
Hmm.
that didn't help. But I said a lot of the adults in this book were so consumed by their own trauma
Hmm.
that they couldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that was wild. I put it down and didn't go back for a week. Yeah, that scene with Kiara's little sister and her mom, that definitely broke me. I was in tears and I had to put the book down.
It's like my worst nightmare. Like the whole
Yeah.
idea of getting to the point where you cannot function and you reach a breaking point where you hurt your own kid, like that is my worst absolute nightmare.
Hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
It is hard enough being a mom, but then adding on that guilt that if you do something like that, like I can't even imagine. But she just like completely pushes it under the rug as if nothing happened and she went to jail for something else entirely.
Hmm. And then she started breaking down on, what happened and how she used to play at the pool and stuff like that. And I don't know. It was just, ugh.
I mean, she really like raised herself.
Mm-hmm.
She and her brother to the best of their ability, and
I wouldn't even say that her brother raised himself. I would say that she raised her brother.
oh,
Like,
that's true.
Yeah.
because like he didn't really do anything. He didn't protect her. He didn't do anything to like actually help their situation. He just acted as if he was in his own little world the whole time.
Doing
Because he
music.
was so into I'm gonna make it big,
Mhm.
rapping, and then started selling.
No,
And I'm
that's
like,
not.
that's not what you initially said you were gonna do, and then you're
Yeah.
ignoring what your sister is telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Ugh. There's just so much trauma in this book, but it's realistic and it
Hmm.
it happen it happens more than it
Hmm.
should.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that's the tragedy of it. It's not, um, most of the times when I read because I want to escape to a
Mm-hmm.
world that um, I don't see, even if it's a world that is in today's world.
Mhm.
Uh, and I know that I know people like this. Um,
Mhm.
it's just that you see a lot more of it because of we live in the age of social media being social media.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's sad. It was a good book, but it was just so sad. I was just like, I just want to string up all of the adults.
Yeah. It's understandable why it was one of Oprah's book club picks last year.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
for
she
sure.
likes sad books like that. She does.
Yeah. But I feel like it gives people a wake up call, like, hey, this is this is happening, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like something has to change, or there has to be some type of availability for people that are going through this, or if a family or if a parent is in jail and stuff like that, there should be something for that for them where they can be able to still continue school and stuff like that and not being able don't have to drop out, you
Hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And the uncle, I mean, he was
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm going. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm like, even when the brother asked for him to take her, he was like, no, because of my wife and my two children. And I'm like,
That
but
I didn't.
That was so selfish.
That
it
was
was
the
very selfish.
worst.
I mean,
Like
I was like, he shouldn't have even have to ask you. He shouldn't have even have to ask you. You know how your sister is. Why didn't you just come and get her?
I
Come and get her.
I still don't understand him, like, because he
Hmm.
didn't have a big part in the book. And I wish that maybe I wish she had a way where Layla wrote something about him. Like, you just left them, and
Totally left them.
they looked up to you.
Hmm.
But that's
Hmm.
family for you. Shoot, some family members, they'll just cut you off or just don't talk to you or just disappear.
Yeah. I was
I
like,
mean, it's like I said, he punished the children for something that they had no
nothing.
part in.
Exactly.
And yes, Marcus made mistakes, but none of that was Kiara's fault.
Yeah.
Like he should have at the very least reached out to her and helped her. Like, oh, I can put $10,000 for to post your bail, but I'm not gonna do any more because I got a vacation I've been planning with my family.
Hmm.
They're your family too, dude. Like, come on.
Hmm.
And at the time, like, how old was Marcus?
Like,
I'm trying to
young
remember
adult. Like, he wasn't really much past the age of 20, I don't think.
because I'm like, for
Yeah.
their mom to go to jail, go where she went and stuff like that. I'm surprised no one thought like they would be by themselves. You know, like there will be no adult figure, and usually, well, nowadays they put you in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And that little kid,
Yeah,
that little
that
kid,
Oh,
she's trying to raise the little kid. I'm like, he's not your responsibility.
you're
I
still
get
a
it,
kid yourself.
but I'm like, the mother. What's wrong with you?
Just dropped him off of this.
the whole scene where she finds him bloodied and like
Hmm.
vomiting
Hmm.
blood, I about lost it.
I got pissed.
Hmm.
I was just so shook. That was another point I had to put the book down for a minute because I was like, I am gonna full on burst into tears for this entire scene. This
Mhm.
is absolutely awful.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, how dare you? What are you doing?
Did they even say who beat him up? I can't even remember.
Wasn't he like at the playground or somewhere and there
I
were a bunch
thought
of
it was the
boys?
kids.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
bunch
I
Yeah.
think
of boys
that's
jumped
what I thought. Like he was playing ball and like a bunch of kids like jumped him or something. That's what I thought.
him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like, they more than jumped him. I'm like, they could have killed him, literally, from
Yeah.
what it was described in the book. I was like,
And
goodness.
if they killed him, Kiara would definitely, I don't know how she would feel.
She probably would have felt that there was nothing left, honestly.
Yeah, because
She would,
she
That kid
was.
was
It
her
was.
world.
I have to work because I have to support him and myself, and I'm like, but he's not your responsibility.
yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, I get it because she's like, if I don't help him, then who's going to help him? And then the older, um, the older people that were a part of that development were gone.
Yeah.
You know, who would have stepped in? It's terrible.
And she's the only person that he knows and trusts.
Yep.
But then
She
again,
literally watched him be born into this world.
right?
She's been there from the beginning of his life.
And then him being taken away after she was taking care of him, not hurt me too.
Yeah.
I loved the scene
And
though where
the
he came
people
back.
understood. The adults in that case understood. They're like, we know that you're doing everything you can, but it's not your responsibility.
Yeah. But then he ran away, which that's also that happens a lot too.
Yep.
And that's like pretty much how it ended. Like he ran away, and I'm like, did she really take him back to where he was supposed to be?
Probably.
I wouldn't.
I mean, I wouldn't either.
I probably wouldn't. I would have been like, you know what? Let's go somewhere. Let's just get our things. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's be out. Right off into the sunset somewhere.
But then again, that would be considered kidnapping, I guess.
Right. And I think that's like, if anything, she would have recognized that. And I would think that Kiara would take him back to where he needed to be. But she wouldn't necessarily stop him from running away either, because he's capable of making his own decisions at the age that he is.
Right.
He knows enough about right and wrong at the age of 9.
She could have absolutely won a settlement. Settlements are a lot more common than we think. We as people of color are trained to accept crumbs. This ending gave crumbs, and settlements are equal. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was really
it was based off of a real case.
Yeah.
Maybe who knows? I mean, the ending, it makes us think like what would have happened. Maybe down the line she did end up getting a settlement, and to the point where possibly she would be able to adopt the boy.
Let me see if I can find anything on the actual case, because I never looked into this myself.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I wanted some type of happy ending for her, and that wasn't. I guess the happy ending, it was sort of happy because she was able to see him again, the little boy.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
What happened?
So they had to pay nearly $1 million to that girl. The city of Oakland.
Good.
Settlement occurred with no admission of liability, but obviously if you pay $1 million, you figure you got some responsibility.
Exactly.
Said the attorney of the girl. She was 19 at the time.
Wow.
Okay.
That's good to hear. That she was able to.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So you can assume since it's based upon that particular case that, you know, she might have put him back, but she eventually gets a settlement.
Come and get him again.
Because at the time that's happening, she's 18.
Yeah.
She's not 19 yet.
And apparently it all started similar to how it was talked about in the book, where a police officer left a suicide note with the girl's name. And it led to criminal charges against 7 officers in the Bay Area, and several officers and other nearby departments fired.
Yeah. Just imagine if that police officer didn't have a note. None of this would have, like, she wouldn't have got that settlement. The cops would still be doing what they've been doing to her.
Yeah.
So I was just, man, let's see. It was selfish, but I respect that he knows his limits. That's why I'm glad I grew up in the foster care, because it could have been a worse situation with the uncle.
Very true.
That is true.
But if he had like a family and stuff too, like I wonder what was so detrimental about her coming in? Like, why was he feeling like her coming in, even for just a short period of time, was going to ruin his life? That I feel like there's something else going on there that we don't know about.
Well, I think it was because of what she was doing.
Right, but like if she was pulled out of that, do you think she would then continue with being like?
So I'm going to say, because in that situation, I do know someone who had a similar thing. And so, but except that they were not related. So, you know, we're thinking the person might take them in, and because they had smaller children, they were like, no, they're not going to. they can help out in any other way that they could, but they weren't going to take the person in. Um, and that was also because they were not moving from their environment. The environment would still be the same environment. Unlike in this case, they would be moving to another part of the state. I understand.
Yeah, like further north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Bless you.
Bless you, Z.
Man, I agree with Bree. Yes, I do think more of the uncle story was needed. Yeah. Uncle
And then it seemed like to me when he initially left, there was no conversation about him being married. So
No.
No,
how
there
many
wasn't.
years was it afterwards? Did he come into a situation where his wife had two children, or were these his biological children? Because I had no sense in terms of the time.
I don't remember. I know that it was a good chunk of time between when he left and the beginning of the story. Like, it had to have been like at least 5 years.
5 years,
I
5
think.
to 6,
Okay.
and that he probably met his
So
wife after
when
he
he
left.
moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Layla Motley was very clear in the book talks that there are no altruistic or decent men in Kiara's life. 0. Every man viewed Kiara through the lens of what he wanted from her.
I would agree. Even with Thomas and Cole, I think that they viewed her in a very specific way because of their relationship to Marcus.
Right. MJ, that is a good question. But if one woman got that settlement, how many other victims are too scared to come forward?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And
look at
then
what happened with
that
Harvey
woman.
Weinstein.
That great example. And
It usually takes like at least one girl, and then others follow suit. You know,
when they feel like they have a safe enough space to admit that they also were hurt by this person, you know, there's always still going to be even more that are too scared, because you know, you never know a person's situation when it comes to being in this. Like Kiara didn't necessarily, and the girl that I guess this is based off of, I don't know if they necessarily went out searching for help. They were found. Like those cops in the book, they came to Kiara saying like, hey, we've been hearing some things. We're investigating a bunch of these officers and your name popped up. What's going on? And it wasn't like she went out and like searched them out.
And that's the only reason why that happened.
Exactly.
And then the chief person who was investigating put her in touch with a good attorney.
Yeah, because Kiara, I mean, she was getting threats from them.
Yep.
So she wasn't going to say anything.
Nope.
But it's like, oh, you came and you found her. It's like, how long is this investigation? Like, I feel like sometimes they take forever to investigate.
It can be years. I'm surprised that the actual case didn't take nearly as long. I think from beginning of the investigation to end, it was only 2 years, from what I read in the article I found.
Yeah, they jumped him at basketball.
Okay.
I think part of that had to do with the press.
He knew his limit. He could have treated her like trash. She was doing things he didn't like. The uncle isn't entitled to raise other children. It's wrong not to, but he didn't have to. Yeah.
This is true.
They were just asking. At this point, they were just asking for help.
Yeah.
I have to agree, it's easy to judge the uncle, but it's a lot to take on. You don't know all that is involved. Crap escalated real quick. It sucks, but you have to know your limits. Yeah.
And then the other thing is that it might have been not so much that he didn't want to take them in, but his wife.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of things you gotta.
She could have been like, do not bring them to the house.
Yeah, I don't know who they are.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and on top of it too, like I understand that he would want to get away from a lot of the stuff that happened, right? Because there's also something to be said of like, you know, a kid that is related to somebody that you know has done something bad can bring back still those memories because maybe they look like that person, if they're especially the children. Right. So like I get it. I understand that he may have had limits, but you know, what irritates me is that at the very least he could have at least like done something. I feel like, you know, he said he wanted to post Marcus's bail. That's cool and all, but what does that do for Kiara? Kiara's the one that Marcus is asking to be helped. Marcus is taking full accountability for the fact that he did something stupid. He's gonna stick it out. Like, he's asking you to help Kiara, who's done nothing and is just stranded here.
Yeah.
You can't, if you were gonna take that much money toward him, give it to her. Get her to be able to get out of the situation a little bit easier.
Yeah. Or have somebody who will take care. You know, you're the adult, she's still a kid.
Right.
Like, reach out to somebody or something and be like, hey, she's by herself. She needs to be with somebody.
Right. Even just recommending someplace to go. Like if he knew of like a shelter or something nearby.
Or a
like
center for young, you know, for teenagers. You know. But I mean, that depends on the person.
So many kids out here like this.
Yeah.
So many.
And they get lost in the system and slip through the cracks. And unfortunately, too, they are, especially if you're a person of color, if you go missing and you're in this environment where you're in sex trafficking or you're a prostitute of any kind,
they don't really care if you're missing.
No, if you're missing, oh, that sucks.
There's so many children, women that are missing.
Of color that are missing.
Yeah.
And they don't care, I think that's also a reason why we have a lot of books that talks about all these girls that are missing, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Exactly.
Or bring it up.
I mean, sex trafficking is worldwide. It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
But it's a lot of it has to do with a lot of people that have power. They're the ones that are doing it.
Yep. They're also the ones sending kids around.
Yeah, like they'll pay somebody off the street, like, hey, bro, I need you to go get this girl right here. I will give you this if you do that. Like, you see a lot of videos on TikTok or on the news where men come in where there's only one woman in the entire building and they're trying to snatch her up when she's running outside and try to grab her. But a lot of women now, they will fight till the end before you try to take them.
Oh, yeah. Because we're aware now. We hear about it so much on social media and we see videos of people like talking about these experiences. Like, we prepare now for those things.
Like the whole napkin in your car thing, they try to make you touch it.
Yep.
How they get you too.
Yep. Zip tie on the handle of your car.
When posted that video, I was like, terrible.
And I'm glad we have social media, because a lot of women and people would not have known that if a napkin is tucked up somewhere, to not touch it.
Leave it alone.
It has something on there.
Yep. So one touch, you pass out. Let's see. You should have called CPS until they did something.
That's the least he could have done, and he didn't. And that's, I think, what makes me so mad at him is the fact that he could have done the smallest thing to help, and he didn't.
Especially as that one cop took out of that situation that night. Yeah.
Yep.
But that woman who she was I guess a high class call girl.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
She was like, you know, there's a better way of doing this, and I'm like,
yeah.
Are you trying to take her under her wing? I said, part of that, I'm like, okay, she's definitely not the only person that you've seen like that. But then when she gets to the place, you know, that she's got a whole herd of girls. So she's got her own situation going on.
And she keeps talking about, oh, you need to get a daddy, you need to get a pimp, all these things. I'm like, what the hell's a pimp going to do except tell her to buck up and just let these cops do what they want with her? He's not going to do a damn thing to protect her. They don't do that.
Couldn't stand that dude.
Ooh.
This book, like, ugh. It had me going through it in my head.
There's a reason I gave it a 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get visceral reactions, like physical, like and emotional reactions. Automatic 5 stars for me.
Right.
Because it has to make me feel something so solidly that it keeps me up at night to then like get that.
Right. It was a very powerful book. I'm glad that we read it, because if I didn't read it, I would have known anything about that case or what happened in Oakland.
No.
So.
Yeah. Brandy got me reading books I don't normally read. Because this is not a book I would have picked up. I don't know. I think what grabbed me about it first was the cover. I'm always, the cover person. So
yeah, about
like,
her hair.
I had not read what it was about. I was just like, oh, I like the cover. Her hair is blowing in the wind. I said, I like that. Then when I read it, I said, okay, we're gonna read it. So I'm not gonna be by myself. And then I was reading. I was like, man, I finished this book really fast, but it's so sad.
Uh-huh.
So
it brings awareness to a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah.
To lock up all the adults.
Yeah. Or
you all
adults
have failed
that don't
your
be
children.
having kids if they're not gonna take care of them.
Yeah.
But that was a really good book. But we'll have a nice, we'll be reading Babel, so I'm excited for that. It's not as heavy.
Well,
it might be heavy, but it's like fantasy,
It's a different type of heavy, I think.
Yeah.
It's a very different type of heavy, but it's still so good. I think you're gonna love, especially the very end of how this one goes.
Okay. All right.
I heard Yellowface is good too. Somebody.
Oh, I'm so excited! I can't wait.
Somebody on TikTok was like, "I got it! I can't believe I got it."
They got it.
It was like, it's really good.
How they get it already?
Got the arc.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, okay.
I'm so excited for Babel though. Like I can't wait for everybody else to read it that hasn't read it, because it's so good. I
haven't read it yet.
I'm excited for it. I'm excited. Well, it's different.
Yeah, I've wanted to read it, so I'm excited.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else that we haven't touched on with Nightcrawling?
I don't know. It's a lot of pain, sadness, anger.
Yeah.
I think that's the main
trauma too. It's a lot of trauma.
Yeah, trauma. That's the key component of this book is trauma.
Yeah.
I hope that girl that actually went through all that's okay now, somewhat. I hope she's doing okay. I was
thinking about that too. Yeah.
And that other girls, hopefully they step forward or will step forward.
I don't think they ever officially released her name either, which I feel good about, because good Lord, she would have gone through the ringer if her name had been released.
For the rest of her life.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think that's it. This is actually a good discussion.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to make it.
Yeah, you have a baby shower, right?
All right. Yeah, we made a stop first, but yes, that is where I'm going. Gotta change my clothes though. That's the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well,
but, I'll catch up with y'all when I get back home. I'm going back tonight, but I'll catch up with y'all later. Yeah. Gotta post some videos. So.
All right, we'll look forward to seeing them.
Okay. Cool.
Well, I think that's it. I think that's a wrap, everyone. Thank you. Oh, Lord. From who?
She's talking about me. She's talking about me.
Oh, man. But, yeah, I think that's going to be it for today, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. This was a great book, so I'm excited for Babel. That's going to be a fun discussion, because I'm sure that's going to be a lot to unpack.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm ready for it. But once again, thank you all for coming. We will see y'all later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.